Good morning YouTube and welcome back to my channel. For those that don't know me, my name is Mia.rivel and today I wanted to share a story with you that I've wanted to share for a very long time, but at the time when I wanted to originally upload this video I didn't feel ready. It was one of the most toughest times in my life, which led to my depression and even thoughts about suicide, but today I'm ready to share my story with you and my struggle with myasthenia gravis and how I just overcame one of the most toughest challenges in my life. So without being too technical, myasthenia gravis is a rare chronic autoimmune neuromuscular condition that causes muscle weakness throughout your entire body. I remember going to several doctors a few times because I knew something wasn't right. I was feeling so tired all the time. I was feeling really weak. I could barely eat. I didn't know what was happening. And at first I was diagnosed by one of the doctors with anorexia. My symptoms then got worse and worse and I went to see another doctor who then told me I had a thyroid issue. In both situations I was taking a lot of medication at the time, but even with having this thyroid issue my symptoms still became worse and worse and I went to see another doctor. Thankfully this doctor did a thorough examination of me and immediately called a neurologist for me to see the next day. Some of the early symptoms that I was having was I was having trouble swallowing food. I started having speech problems where when I talked it just all came out mumbling and it was hard for people to make out what I was trying to say to them. My eyes constantly felt so heavy that I could barely keep them open. I eventually had to stop working and I stopped socializing with my friends. I pretty much had to shut myself off from the whole world, but thankfully I had a great boyfriend at the time and he helped me get through a lot of what I was going through at the time. It actually became so bad for me that I could barely dress myself, I could barely, brush my teeth and just do things every day that we take for granted. And he was pretty much my rock at that time to help me get through that hard period. So the day after the doctor had done a thorough examination and had told me that I had to go see the neurologist at the hospital the next day, my sister ended up coming with me to see the neurologist. And that same day I was admitted into hospital pretty much straight away. I didn't really have time to go home and pack and do any of that. Thankfully my sister and my boyfriend at the time did all of that for me. At this point I was absolutely so terrified. I didn't know what was going on, what was wrong with me, why I'm in hospital. I knew that I had myasthenia gravis because that's what my neurologist had diagnosed me with, but at the same time that didn't mean anything to me at that time. So as I mentioned before, some of the symptoms that I did have early on was ocular myasthenia gravis, which is muscle weakness in the eyes. I wasn't really tired most of the times, but my eyes just felt so heavy that I could barely keep them opened. Another symptom was I could barely swallow food and I just had to eat pretty much anything that was soft and easy to get down. My speech started to deteriorate and when I tried to talk to people they couldn't understand what I was talking about because it just sounded like mumble to them. And it was really frustrating for me not to be able to do the most simple things in life that, as I mentioned before, that we all take for granted, like talking, speaking, being able to lift things. I could barely lift up a toothbrush, let alone dress myself at the time. I remember crying pretty much day and night because I needed my boyfriend's assistance with pretty much everything and he pretty much had to stop his life to look after me. So I was really thankful to him for everything that he did to help me get through that tough period in my life as well. Thankfully the neurologist had put me on several medications to help improve my condition and my symptoms so that I was able to live a somewhat normal life. So some of the medications that I was taking was methadone, which helps with your overall muscle strength, as well as steroids. I was taking cyclosporin, which helps with if you have a weak heart. Imuran, which helps with your immunity, as well as caltrate and iron tablets just to help boost my immune system. I was also told that I had to have a thymectomy, which originally my neurologist was like, we're gonna have to cut all the way down your chest in order to get to your thymus gland and remove it. Thankfully there was another option where they cut down here and they actually took out my thymus gland that way. So I also had another procedure done called plasmapheresis, and this is where it cleans out your blood cells, removing the antibodies that block transmission signals that cause myasthenia gravis, that pretty much cause muscle weakness in your body. And I remember this procedure took about, I think, 4 to 6 hours, and in the middle of it I remember just passing out and then waking up to all of these faces staring at me asking if I was okay, and I was just like, what happened, what is going on? And I still had to sit there for another few hours hooked up to this machine while it cleaned out my blood. How did I first deal with my condition? I remember that I just didn't want to live anymore. I hated the fact that I had to rely on someone else to do the most simplest things for me, and for someone else to stop their life just to look after me. I absolutely just hated that. I spent most of the time pretty much crying, and when I wasn't crying I was pretty much sleeping all the time. I had to stop work, I couldn't go out with my girlfriends, my whole life just stopped, and I just became someone that wasn't very happy with herself, someone that just hated life. I started resenting a lot of things, and then I started to play the victim, and I was like, you know, why me? Why is this happening to me? There was no family history of myasthenia gravis, so it is still unknown to doctors as to how and why one gets myasthenia gravis. One of the things that I struggled a lot with also was being on steroids. As some of you might know, if you are taking steroids or have taken steroids for an autoimmune condition, it just makes you so hungry, and you need to be on steroids to be able to get your strength back. And I just remembered I was constantly so hungry all the time, and I put on a lot of weight. It wasn't until a couple of months after that I stopped taking the steroids that I was able to, you know, get back to my normal weight again. I was able to start working again and started to hang out with friends. I started to live a somewhat normal life again, and I just felt so relieved. I think it took me a very long time for me to actually just accept what I have, as I was told by the doctors that I'm gonna have this for the rest of my life and that I would be on medication for the rest of my life. So I may as well just get used to taking a lot of medication every single day and just accepting that I have this condition. So I've also been the type of person that wasn't really so big on health and fitness. I pretty much just ate whatever the hell I wanted, whenever I wanted, and my weight wasn't really a concern to me. I wasn't fat at the time, except for when I was on steroids, but I came back to my normal body weight. I was the type of person back then that could pretty much eat anything and everything, and ate a lot of junk food and can still maintain my weight, and that's pretty much what I did most of the time. I didn't really take my health that seriously. I still drank, I was still smoking at the time, which is not really good if you're looking to recover from myasthenia gravis. All I wanted to do was, you know, be out with my friends, drink with them, have a good time, party with them, stay out really late. You know, I didn't want to miss out on my life because of this condition and be happy again. And that's pretty much what I was doing for a very long time. Fast forward 10 years of having myasthenia gravis, in 2016 is when I met my now husband, and it really wasn't till him that I took my health and nutrition very seriously. I remember going into the doctors one day just to go in for a general health check. I told him that, you know, I'm about to get married and that, you know, I want to be healthy because I plan to have children. And I remember him just telling me that it's going to be somewhat impossible for someone with myasthenia gravis to have children. He also said that he didn't recommend me going down that route, and pretty much just reminded me of my conditions and what I was incapable of doing and what my body could and couldn't handle. I also got told that if I did decide to go ahead and have kids, that there's going to be a 50-50 chance of me surviving, because the stress on my body having myasthenia gravis, he said my body just wouldn't be able to take me having children. This was a big wake-up call for me, as at the time when I heard this information, I remember just crying. I was on the phone to my fiance at the time, and I remember I was on the phone to my dad. I was just crying and I was like, I don't know what to do, this and that. So after I think maybe a week or two of having a pity party for myself, I decided to do some really hardcore, in-depth, extensive research on myasthenia gravis, on health and nutrition. I started to really get into personal development as well, and that's how I got my diploma in life coaching. I also got a diploma in nutrition because I was just so focused on getting my health back and being the best person that I could be, someone that's healthy, someone that has their mind right. And I was just so obsessed with meeting other people that had myasthenia gravis, reaching out to people, reaching out to support groups, trying to find out, you know, how everyone else deals with this and if they have kids. Thankfully, throughout my research and throughout me studying nutrition especially, I decided to put my health sort of somewhat into my own hands. So after studying both of my diplomas, I knew that I needed someone else's help to get my health back, to get my mind right, and I knew that I didn't want to go to another doctor, I didn't want to go to my neurologist, and I didn't want to just rely on the advice from other people with autoimmune conditions. And this is when I found Victoria O'Sullivan, who is a naturopath here in Sydney, Australia, and I have to say that I see one of the naturopaths there, and it has just been a game changer ever since. I think since 2017 I've been seeing the naturopath, and I still do see him today. So my naturopath really helped me to understand my body. They did a range of tests on me to test my intolerance, to test anything that I'm allergic to. They did some blood work to help me just understand what's going on, where's my body at, and also how I can improve my health and my nutrition, as well as help me with my mindset and how I handle personal things like stress, how to cope with like work and just everyday life things. Like, it was just a whole game changer for me, and pretty much just help me with everyday life challenges and to find a balance between everything that was happening in my life at the moment. If you are watching this and you do have an autoimmune condition or myasthenia gravis, I just want you to be mindful that these decisions are decisions I chose to do for myself. And with my background in nutrition and with the extensive research that I did, as well as seeing a neurologist and a naturopath, these are the decisions that I felt that was best for me, that worked for me, and it's what helped me become medication free for about nearly two years now. I do highly recommend that if you take on any of my suggestions and try anything that I tried, to seek a medical health professional or a naturopath to help guide you in your decisions. So the beginning of 2017, I decided to become vegan. I decided to cut out all meat, all dairy, no gluten, pretty much cut down on my sugar majorly. I decided to make some huge lifestyle changes, like getting up early in the morning, meditating, learning how to handle my stress, learning to get my mindset in the correct positive frame every single morning so I can handle my day better, and as well as my emotions. And for the very first time in my life, I started to go to the gym first thing every single morning before I go to work, and I was able to lift weights, I was able to work on my endurance when it comes to cardio, and I honestly thought that this day would never come where I would have the strength to be able to interact with people again, to do things for myself again, and to be able to get up early in the morning and lift weights. Like, if you were to come to me and tell me a year prior that I would be someone that was into health, nutrition, and getting up early, going to the gym, living a healthy lifestyle, and so obsessed with just what I eat and how I treat my body, I would pretty much laugh in your face. It was a big deal for me to make all of these life changes, and it has been one of the best decisions that I've ever done for myself. So where am I at now? Now I am pretty much 99% medication free since 2017. When I say 99% medication free, I did have a relapse, I think beginning or end of 2017. I was engaged at this point, and I was still doing uni, I was still working full time, I still ran my side business, and I was planning a wedding. So it was one of the most stressful times in my life, and what my naturopath told me is that stress actually triggers myasthenia gravis. So this is why my symptoms started to flare up again, because I sort of got caught up in everything and I was trying to do everything at once. So I went to see my neurologist again to see what he had to say about my symptoms coming back up again. And he's the one that said to me, seeing as though you only have very mild symptoms of myasthenia gravis coming up right now, to go back on Mestinon, and if you have these sort of symptoms come up or you see them starting to creep up, then take Mestinon. If you feel comfortable going off Mestinon, then go off Mestinon. So I took Mestinon, I think, for maybe once or twice a week for a few months leading up to my wedding, because I didn't want to risk it. I wanted to have my health. I wanted to be able to go traveling with my husband, my fiance at the time, and I wanted to be able to meet his family and just see the world, and I wanted to have my strength. I wanted to rely on myself as well. So I took Mestinon up until August. After we got married is when I stopped taking Mestinon. I'm not on any medication. I'm still doing my usual daily routines of meditating, going to the gym, still lifting weights, still doing cardio, still eating healthy majority of the times. My naturopath has actually helped me find alternatives to food solutions, because I told him, you know, I do have that sweet tooth and I do miss chocolate and cheeses and desserts and all these things, but the great thing is that there's an alternative for everything. There is like a vegan chocolate cake, there is gluten-free bread, like everything that I used to love, like there's dairy-free cheese. I don't really notice the taste difference anymore because I've stopped having those things for a very long time now. It's the same with meat. I don't really miss meat anymore because I'm so used to not having it, but I do still have my burgers if I want a burger. I still have, you know, cheese, dairy-free cheese. I still have chocolate. I'm still able to live a normal, happy, healthy life. So my advice to anyone that has myasthenia gravis or has an autoimmune condition, or, you know, is going through a tough time right now, I just ask that you please love yourself enough to be kind to yourself, especially in the way that you think, and to live a healthy lifestyle as much as possible. And by that I mean it all starts with your mindset. So no matter how tough things are for you right now or what you are going through, it has seriously been one of the biggest things that has helped me pull through my condition, is being mentally strong and just knowing what's important to me, and that is my health. So eating right, making sure I exercise, make sure I still meditate every day, getting some mental clarity first thing in the morning, and having my emotions in check and what my goals are for my life, for my health. I don't drink alcohol anymore. I've stopped smoking. I find that I'm still able to hang out with my girlfriends and go out and have fun without doing any of those things. It's just been absolutely life-changing for me, just making these small adjustments into your life, because I would rather live happy and healthy rather than to risk it all and just eat whatever I want and not look after my body, just to be able to, you know, enjoy life and then suffer for the rest of my life. That doesn't mean that I still don't get stressed out and still go through hard times. I do, but I've just found a way to be able to have my stress under control and to be able to deal with things a lot better so that my symptoms don't flare up again and I have my condition under control. So that's pretty much my story with myasthenia gravis, and I do believe that even though if you do have an autoimmune condition, that you can still live a somewhat normal life and rely on yourself. There are so many support groups out there, especially on Facebook. I would love to hear any of your thoughts or any of your questions. If you guys want to know anything more about anything I've said today, just leave me a comment below as I'll reply to everyone. Please like my video and subscribe to my channel if you found anything useful, or if you want to see more videos like this. Remember guys, that through weakness comes strength. So I hope you all have a beautiful day. So until next time, I will see you all in my next video. Bye!